Today I'm reviewing the Toyota Supra, and yes, it is based on the BMW Z4, but I'm not here to tell you something that you probably already know. Now I think they look great, they sound great, and I'm really excited to finally drive one. I'm Max Sativani, and welcome to Driven Plus. Firstly, I want to explain to you why this is a BMW Z4 underneath. Toyota wanted to bring back the Supra name, but they didn't have any performance rear-wheel drive setups, and they also didn't have any inline-six engine. Yes, they had their 3.5 litre V6, which you'll find in the Lotus Exige, but they knew if they didn't put an inline-six engine in the new Supra, they would piss a lot of Toyota purists off. Hence why they knocked on BMW's door, famed for its rear-wheel drive setups and the world's best inline-six engines. And the BMW Z4 was the perfect car to base it on. It had the 3 litre B58 engine, an engine already famed in the tuner mill for producing really high numbers. But what's my thoughts on the BMW influence? Well, I'm a BMW enthusiast, so I actually quite like it. But what's my thoughts on the B58? They're a brilliant engine. From having personally experienced a B50 engine in an M140 I had, which was highly tuned, they will never miss a beat. Will it have the same legacy as a 2JZ? No. Let's have a look under the bonnet, because here sits the BMW B58 engine. This produces 335 brake horsepower, 500 newton meters of torque, and it weighs 1,570 kilos. Now, Toyota claim it will do 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds, but we're not going to be trying that today because it's -1, and I want to give this car back to its owner in one piece, not in a load of different BMW pieces. That gives me a good idea. Let's try and find some BMW parts. Right, let's start the BMW badge counter. Now, let's start with the engine cover. Okay, let's take this off, put it down here. The plugs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 BMW badges. Down here on the belt, there's another 4 BMW badges. Where are we here? On the pipe, another BMW badges. Where else? That's a TU pump, that's a BMW engine. Let's go to the rear because there's some in the boot as well. The battery, BMW badge, and even the tracker and some other electrical device, BMW badges as well. I'm not really going to start disassembling the car, but yeah, there's a few of them. Now, the A90 Supra has been around for 4 years now, and even if it came out yesterday, it still looked brand new. It's going to age so well going through the years, but it looks like a Batmobile, doesn't it? Look at the roof here, it's just all the shapes are beautiful. Really good stealth look. But coming to the rear, I think the owner, Luke, he's put a carbon lip spoiler on this, which I think is a must need on the Supra, because without a wing or some sort, it just looks a bit plain and boring. Boot space, 290 litres, which is more than a BMW Z4, which is interesting. And this is what the Toyota B58 sounds like. Nice and deep, very B58-like. Well, it is a B58. Let's go have a look inside. On the inside, it's very BMW, but let's start off with some Toyota things. The seats, they look beautiful. They're super supportive, nice leather, and they're really comfortable as well. And we've got a little friend here, Buzz Lightyear, to join us. Let's put him in the passenger seat there. He's enjoyed his ride out today. iDrive system is very identical to even that of my BMW M4 CS, so that's really easy for me to use, quite like that. Even all the climate controls and the gear sticks, it's just very, very BMW-like. And even the steering wheel, though it's got a bit of different design to a usual BMW one, it's BMW throughout, to be honest. But the overall layout of the cockpit is very nice and elegant, very clean. Love the carbon fibre trims down here. But one little thing for me is the cup holders. Say you haven't got a drink in there, you can easily slide your elbow into there, which isn't a bit big of an issue, but still. And storage, yeah, it's not the best, but you do have access into the boot, so you can get something from there. Glove box, not a bad size, and you've got some small door pockets there, and you also have a wireless charging pad down there. Right, let's get out on the road. Now the updated Supra gets 47 brake horsepower more than the first generation Supra, this one right here. But if you're buying one to tune, then I won't really be too bothered about which generation to go for. But you actually feel really focused as well. It's got a nice driving position about it. You sit really low to the floor, and I think you sit closer to the rear axle than you do to the front. And the bonnet, that seems to go on forever. And the handling is surprisingly better as well. I only say that because it's based on an M-Lite, meaning you get an electronically assisted LSD. Having said that, you get a 50-50 perfect weight distribution. And because you sit really low to the floor, the centre of gravity is lower than a GT86. And the steering response as well, really impressed with that. It's super responsive, super quick, no messing about. And it's genuinely fast too. If I put my foot down, the pickup is amazing. The gearbox is good as well. It's a ZF8 torque converter. You know my opinion on them. They're absolutely great. However, I would have thought it's the same system they brought from, obviously, the BMW Z4. But I'm just looking at the gear stick now. If I put it into, well, over, that goes into manual mode, where on the BMWs it goes into M/S. So it's either sport or manual. But this is just solely manual. Interesting. So now that it's in manual, let's have a play with these paddles and listen to the sound that straight six makes. And it's beautiful, glorious. B58 sounds amazing. Yeah, it sounds really nice. Whether that's fake sound they're pumping into the cabin, which most cars do nowadays, then I don't know, but I'm still really happy with the sound. The thing I like about BMW straight six engines, yes, they're so good at delivering outrageous power, but one thing which they're also good at is just being so refined and being so easy to drive at low speeds, like we are doing here, just going through a bit of a built-up area, coming up to traffic lights, third gear, down to second. It's so smooth, so refined, you hardly know it's there. And obviously if you do want it to come alive, you just put it, open the flaps up, and turns into a different animal. But another thing which I love about the BMW influence, because it's so refined, yes, it's a two-seater sports car, but do I feel like that? Does it feel cramped? No. There's a lot of space in here. Big fan, do like it. I must say, it's always nice coming back to a B58 engine. Such a strong engine, they sound good, and they love to rev to its red line of 7,000 RPM. What are the downsides? Well, number one, Toyota didn't give this a manual gearbox, which is fine for me, doesn't offend me, but I think Toyota missed a trick. Going back to the original Supra, obviously it was famed for its manual gearbox and straight six engine. I'm pretty sure you can manual swap anything nowadays, but for me, any two-seater sports car should have a manual option at least. Well, standard. And the other downside isn't one for me again, but it's the fact that it's got BMW influence. Now, I don't mind that at all, but it will never be able to hide away from the fact that it's a BMW. It's like walking into a sushi restaurant and getting frankfurter sausage with wasabi. Now, that doesn't work. But I must admit, it doesn't really bother me as much as this being a BMW. Obviously, I'm a BMW fan anyway. I like the fact. Now, I'm going to annoy a lot of you Toyota diehards, but don't worry, I'm a big Land Cruiser fanatic. So please let me off. And I think the BMW partnership is good. And I'll tell you why, because I wouldn't be sat here right now in a Supra if it wasn't for it. And do I think this is the last generation Supra? Well, I think Toyota will try and keep this out for as long as they can, but I don't expect to see a new model once this gets discontinued. But what are the similarities between this Supra and the Mark IV? The Mark IV being the one, the Fast and Furious, the orange one. Well, Firstly, they're both rear-wheel drive. The Mark IV you could get in a manual and automatic. This you can only get in automatic. The Mark IV also had a 3-litre inline-6 engine, the 2JZ, and so did this. But a big similarity between the engines is that both closed-deck units, meaning they can both support high power and boost applications. Put it this way, really, really good for the tuning world. But the B58 is a relatively new engine when you compare it to the 2JZ. The 2JZ has had more than 20 years of developing, more than 20 years of tuning, and the B58, well, it's only been out, what, 3, 4, 7 years-ish? So it's been around for a while, but I think when you compare it, you team B58 or team 2JZ, I think it's unfair. I just don't think you can compare them. There's 20 years of engine development between them. And that 20 years in the engine game is huge. A massive thanks to Luke today for lending us his beautiful Mark V Supra. Give him a follow on Instagram at Luke Drives. But what's my conclusion on the Supra? Well, I think they're a great sports car, great value too. You can pick one up for around £40,000, which is cheap for what they look like. And it's got a really good head turner meter about them because they look like a supercar. Supercar looks for sports car money and not far off supercar performance, especially if you give it a little tune. That's what they love, these B58s. I'm not saying anything, but they do need it. They come alive, shall we say. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next week.